Hey, it's Romania Black, and we are on, sadly, the final 3 volumes of the Case Study of Vanitas, which I'm really sad about because after having read them and talking, as I'm about to talk with you all about them tonight, I'm really sad because I want more. We gotta wait now. It's a very interesting situation because I've not had this situation happen a lot. Like, I have other series that I am currently, that are ongoing, that I just don't have time to get to the other seasons for. I mean, Spy Family, Demon Slayer, some of those seasons, I'm like, I know the new seasons are out there, I don't have room in my schedule to watch them right now. And then with this series, you have other manga that I am reading like every 6 months or every month or every 3 months or however long it takes to get a volume of content. And with this, there's a big old question mark. I feel like Bungo Stray Dogs in this series are kind of in a similar boat where I'm going to have to wait until there is enough content to get made into an anime and then wait for the anime to get made for that content, because I'd like to stay anime only with this, if I'm being honest, because having read the manga now, getting caught up to date, there are some things that we've noted the last couple volumes that were left out that I was like, oh, that'd be cool to know. But overall, I think it's not necessary it's not like there was a major plot point left out. It's stuff that could easily be touched upon in the future of the anime. Like the stuff with Machina from the last volume set, 6 and 7, they could insert the bear costume and stuff into the anime if they wanted to in the future. That wouldn't be very hard, right? Some of the stuff we are going to talk about with volume 8, though, there's a lot skipped out on, and I was like, oh, which could very well come into play again when they pick the anime back up. So I am excited about that. I'm hoping that there's some stuff in volume 8 that they're going to save and open with maybe in the next season. That'd be really cool. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but I am really excited because I feel like this series can have a future. And I was telling people in the comments that with so many anime getting new seasons, even if they're years later, it's worth it to be patient and wait. And plus, I have so many different manga and anime to look at on this channel. I will be able to bide my time. But, so while I'm staying anime only from here on in with Vanitas, I am sad that it's ending for now. I really like this series. It has so much potential, and it has so many cool elements to it, like with the mystery surrounding the Blue Moon Vampire, the Shapeless one, which we'll talk about again with this. There's so many mysteries I want to talk to at the end of this, especially about Volume 10, that I think could make for a really intriguing next season. So we'll just have to see, right? I do want to mention a couple comments before we get into the volumes themselves, because there's a lot to talk about. I'm glad I separated them. I'm glad I didn't talk about volumes 6 through 10. This would be like a 3-hour video. Because I talked for an hour alone on volume 6 and 7, and there's a lot to go over with these volumes, so bear with me. But I do want to mention the Martin 0524 talked about how, and this is true, I didn't take too many pictures of it in the volume itself in volume 10, but in the episode 24 of the anime, there was not a beauty mark on the short-haired, the Luis's face. Instead, so the theory is that it was Dominique, and we'll talk about that very soon. And then both Diginova Star and Niku BD 8599 talked about how in the ED in the last episode, whereas Vanitas constantly like stops and looks back at the audience, he doesn't in the final episode. He walks with no A, and I was like, yay! So that was very exciting. But yeah, I'm ready to dive in. We're not going to waste much time. We're going to dive straight in and talk about volumes 8 through 10 because we need to talk about it. We need to talk about this because there's a lot to go over, and I am very happy. I had to wait until today to actually get volume 10 because it just came out on official English release, and I wanted to support the official release. So thanks, Patreon, for helping me get that. But let's dive in and talk about volume 8 first, because honestly, I have about 20 different images with volume 9 and 20 different images with volume 10. I've got like 40 with this volume. Which a lot of them are just showing you all the differences and the stuff that's been left out. But I was like, holy crap, volume 8. Oh, so this is the cover. What I like, I think, the most about it is you can notice Dominique's, her hair turns like golden and yellow. It's kind of a tie back, interestingly, to the Shapeless one. because the shapeless one has like the golden vibes around it as well, and that's their grandfather. So interesting, right? I find that fascinating. I like the idea of the briar. There is the like thorny vines like tangling Dominique to her past and to her brother, right? Because I think that's a big case of her her lament and her anguish in this volume. And then we cut to her brother, who is the one right next to him with all the stakes and everything, and like grasping his heart with like the different cracks coming out of it. Oh, the neon colors and everything. It's just, I will praise this series so much because its manga does such an excellent job with the use of color, with the use of imagery, with the way the line work works. It's just going from cutesy chibis to this really detailed line work is just awesome to witness as somebody. I'm very glad I have the manga because I can go back, and when I feel like I'm having a Vanitas hiatus, I can go back and read these volumes and feel the magic, right? So basically at this point, we basically left off with Chloe and Jean-Jacques like about to get to the climax of the whole deal with the Beast of Gévaudan. But I do like this page where Vanitas talks about the idea of being right and the idea of justice, and that everybody thinks that they are correct, and being right is power. That idea, and it can turn easily to violence, which is much more harder than malice, because Vanitas basically saying that when you believe you are correct and believe what you are doing is justice and not just being mean-spirited or being cruel, that's even worse, because if you think you're doing good, then you feel more justified, and that makes it even harder to reason or deal with people like that. And I like that Vanitas says, justice should merely be the light that illuminates the path ahead of you. Don't overthink it. And I just love these little tender moments with Vanitas and Noé. It's really cute. And you can kind of see like Roland in there. He's just like, oh, this is why I like you guys. It's really super cute. It's super, super cute. And then we have Noé getting the inspiration to fight against Astolfo. The punch in the manga was just... The punch in the manga was amazing. I was like, oh, well, that was certainly packed a punch. But definitely just a really good moment. And then we cut back to Chloe. And Chloe trying to reason whether... I like in the manga that they represent the birdcage around Chloe, but they also have the shadows of her parents. And in the manga, it's all like black and inky. And so she has to choose between, does she die with her parents and obliterate the world, or does she pick Jean and Jean-Jacques? And she picks Jean and Jean-Jacques. And the panel is beautiful. Like, just, I like when mangaka are able to use white space and they use the use of like complete black outlines and things like that. Works really, really good. Super, super nice to see. But yeah, so we get a little bit more of Vanitas asking for Luna, the blue moon, to lend him the strength from him or her. We'll talk about that. But yeah, and then the mark grows a little bit larger, which we'll talk about in a minute because the manga gives us a little bit more with that. I do like there's a lot of little extras in the volume. So like there's this Gévaudan arc trivia. And there's this little picture of Jean-Jacques there. It says Jean-Jacques' father was a hunter named Jean Chastel. In the real life Beast of Gévaudan incident, he was a character with a dubious reputation. While he's credited with having killed the real beast, quote unquote, and putting an end to the matter, he was also suspected of having tamed and trained the beast in the first place. So setting the whole thing up. I'm glad they didn't go off on like a tangent arc with his dad in this, and that they just let it be like, no, it is what it is. But I thought that was interesting. And then what I really like about Volume 8, first of all, is that Astolfo's storyline, it's not that much different than the anime, but there's little moments, little beats, little parts where Roland really establishes that, like Noé, Astolfo is really kind. It's just, and well, like Vanitas, he's really kind. And that's kind of what Noé is going to go. Noé is going to talk to Vanitas later about how Vanitas could very well have ended up like Astolfo, but he didn't. Like the beat of a butterfly's wing could have made their situations change. But I do like that we see some parallel to Astolfo and Vanitas here. And in some regard, Noé is kind-hearted too, so there's some comparison there. And then, of course, we have Roland, who's just there to catch him when he falls. It's really good. I like that page a lot. And, Noé sacrificing his arm to stop him. It's interesting. But we do get a little bit more about Vanitas and the idea of the bite mark on his arm has spread quite a bit. And it's just one page. It's not that much information, but it is pretty significant. It says, the mark I've engraved on your arm will eat away at you. It's imbued with my power, the power of the blue moon. The more you use it, the more you yourself will be rewritten. Remember that. So basically, like, he's going to keep changing the more he uses it. And in volume 10, we're going to find out that there's a very big possibility he's going to keep using it. So I think it's interesting that Vanitas himself knows that even though he wants to remain human, he's created this like paradox, and we'll talk about it in volume 10. But Vanitas right now is the only one that knows, aside from Mihail, that he's going to keep changing as he keeps using the Book of Vanitas. So Noé doesn't know yet. It's just, it's this story. There are several moments that are set up that I'm like, oh, that is going to be angsty. That is going to be full of angst. And this is one of them. You're just like, okay, well, Vanitas knows he's on a time clock. He's slowly transforming, and nobody else knows except Mihail. But nobody wants to listen to Mihail because he's crazy. So it's like, I'm like, this author is creating these moments of angst, and I'm like, Urgh. And then it's like, as a reward, don't worry about all that stuff. That won't be touched upon for volumes and volumes from now. Here's John kissing Vanitas, and it's so beautiful. I love that it's this big double spread, and Vanitas, who has been so cold and doesn't want to acknowledge that he is capable of love, experiences love for the first time. Or not really the first time. I think that Vanitas did love the Blue Moon Vampire, but experienced this kind of love again, right? And then sees her smile. I do love Jean and Vanitas. I do. Don't get me wrong. I like them a lot as a couple, but we've talked about it in the comments with some other people. I feel like Jean and Vanitas are like a first love kind of couple. It's very fast. It's very fleeting. It's like the first time Vanitas realizes that he's capable of loving someone, and it freaks him out. But to me, I think that by the end of this whole series, Jean and Vanitas, they're going to be like, yeah, I love you too, but that's where it extends to. But I feel like the bond between Vanitas and Noé is going to be a lot deeper. And honestly, I'm not opposed to there being like a triangle here where Vanitas loves Jean and Noé equally. I'm fine with that. I think I get frustrated when people try to comment and be like, oh, Vanitas is never going to love Noé that way. And I'm like, well, now, hold on. You can't say that. You're not the mangaka. We don't know that for sure yet. Why can't he love both? Why can't he have two pale blonde-haired lovers, right? Why can't he have two vampire lovers, Jean and Noé? Why not? You know, and then Dominique's over in the corner like, why? I can't have either of them? No! But I love that expression where Vanitas like blushes and realizes that like it's getting his blood sucked, which is supposed to be this like euphoric, experience, doesn't do it for him, but the little kiss on the cheek like gets him all riled up, right? And this is also the other thing that makes me think that Noé and Vanitas are like the angsty end game, and Jean and Vanitas they're also going to be angsty end game. But here's the thing that makes me think it can be both, right? Because you have this beautiful moment with Jean and Vanitas, right? And then you have Vanitas hearing from the Blue Moon Vampire, even you, the one who's forever cold, will meet someone who will keep you warm. And that's when Noé shows up with his hand. So it's like every time Vanitas realizes this about love, Noé is right there. So I think it could be all three, right? I do love this little side panel, though, that's like, Vanitas, I'm sorry, I got my arm cut off. Could you sew it on back for me? And he's like, Beso. Noé's just sniffling like, please sew my arm back. It's such dark humor, but I really, really like it. So, we also get expanded upon the idea that we did know that Johann and Dante found the little, they found the alteration engine, right? We saw that at the end of the anime. And they say in the manga, they're going to take it back to Marquis Machina and make him pay a hefty fee for it. And you're like, okay, got that confirmed. Then, this rando shows up and, like, knocks Johann and Dante out and takes it. Right? Well, then we find out, well, who took the alteration engine? Well, then we find out that the people who took the alteration engine are chausseurs. And not just any chausseur, they're chausseurs that know Roland and Olivier. And Roland is like, oh, well, that incident you went off to seemed to have given you a lot of trouble, Gano. And right off the bat, Gano looks immediately suspect. Immediately, I was like, oh, he looks suspicious. His character design is like, you have Roland, who's very angelic, and Olivier, who's handsome, and the Gano, it's like, he doesn't look like he'd be villainous at all. And so, anyway, we'll get back to Gano here in a minute. So it seems like the chausseurs have the alteration engine and have taken it away. Whatever. I'm not worried about the chausseurs having it, honestly. At least I wasn't at this point in the manga. And then we see Myrrh, who is looking down with the purple eye at everything. It's not established what Myrrh is in the manga, but I think it's connected to the Shapeless One. I just do. I think Myrrh is connected to the Shapeless One. I could be wrong, but if it's not the Shapeless One itself, I think it's like the pet of the Shapeless One, and that's why they gave it to Noe. And it's like that's how the Shapeless One's been spying on them. That's just my theory at the moment. So then we cut back to Dominique, and we have this exchange. Again, I see why this was cut from the anime, because it's a very short scene. It doesn't really have any bearing on the plot of the anime, but it is good to know. So Veronica goes and visits Dominique and has this blood on her, and she's like, I'm having this fling. Veronica is fooling around, supposedly, with Machina. With Francis. With Machina. What? She's like having supposedly this fling with this giant guy in a bear costume. Which is baffling to me. I would never imagine, because Machina seems fairly old, but they're vampires, so what is age? But I'm just amazed that Veronica seems way too like high class and sophisticated to have an affair with Machina, who seems like a complete weirdo. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't know. But she tries to tell Dominique like all the things that she's done to him. And her exact words, like in the background, Dominique is screaming, being like, I don't want to hear about my sister's graphic sex life. And you're like, what is happening? And in the background, Dominique says, after roughly gripping me, Francis ran his sinewy tongue all over my and says, undaunted and already well acquainted with it, I took his and once our passion reached fever pitch, we simply guzzled each other's blood as our instinct dictated. And it's like no. So Veronica and Machina are a thing, apparently. Again, I feel like this scene right here, you could very well insert it at the beginning of the next season. The only thing that doesn't quite make sense is that at this point, Dominique is in a rough place because of Noe. But then again, you could always start the season off with this. Like Dominique's getting over everything with Mihail, and Veronica shows up and has this talk with her. Because Veronica gets all the gossip from Machina, especially about her favorites, Noe and Jean, which I like that we have these triangles. We have Dominique, who is dark-haired, with her two pale blondes of Noe and Jean, and then you have Vanitas, who's dark-haired, with Noe and Jean. It's just a love square, I swear. But we have this meeting of the not quite round table. It's basically this, I like that it's like a half moon. There's a sun in the middle, there's two black stars, and then Luca is at the head, like where the queen would normally sit, and there's like scribes. But there are 8 different vampires there. Ruthven being one, Antoine, we'll talk about Antoine, and Luca being ones. And the others we don't exactly know. They're just kind of creepy. But they are not happy about the Beast of Gévaudan not being stopped. And they're definitely not happy the chausseurs have run off with the alteration engine. They're like, well, we didn't get anything out of this, and none of us are happy. And they're like, well, what is the church going to do with the alteration engine? What's going to happen? Like, we should have wiped out the beast. What about the witch? Why didn't the Hellfire Witch do her job? And so they're kind of having like a lot of anger towards Jean not getting the job done. And Ruthven tries to diffuse the situation. And I like Ruthven says it's meaningless for vampires to talk of time. Like, who cares how long it takes? We're immortal. So what difference does it make? And so I think that's interesting. And then Veronica just keeps talking about like everything that Machina told her. And apparently Machina was just sitting at the table like, not listening, not really listening to what's going on. Machina's just kind of hanging out there doing his thing. Right? So they don't like where Jean's happening, and they decide that they want to get rid of Jean, which is not good, which she's just a burrow to them. They don't care if they kill her or not. But before we find out the fate of that, Dominique's like, well, why would they want to get rid of Jean? And Veronica's like, well, because she didn't do her job. And that's when Antoine shows up. And Antoine is another brother. Their dad got it on a lot because there's Dominique, there's Louis, there's Veronica, and there's Antoine. Antoine looks exactly like Veronica. Kind of looks like Louis a little bit, but has like pale hair like Veronica. And he's very, like, Veronica is very mean girl. He is very like snoody. It's hard to describe his personality. He's kind of like if Louis wasn't angsty and was more snobby. That's a good way of putting it. He's kind of like Louis in that he kind of has this like air to him of being like, I know exactly what I'm talking about and you don't. But it's not like I'm about to die angsty. Instead, it's just kind of arrogant. But it's done in such a classy way that you're kind of like, it's hard for you to get kind of mad at him. You're just kind of like, I don't know how to read you. But apparently, Jean was threatened and Luca raised his voice and said, Jean is my chevalier and I'm not going to allow you to dispose of her. And he has like his teeth bared because Luca loves Jean and wants to grow up and be with her. So I like that. I like that Jean stood up. I like that Jean stood up to rescue her. That was really sweet. I liked that a lot. And then Antoine goes on this big spiel, just talking about how Luca stood up and how the other vampires were like kind of just amazed that Luca had a voice in the situation. So then Antoine apparently confronted the vampire that was the most agitated by Luca and basically says, you know, I just told him that we might as well just stick around and keep Jean around because she might be useful later on. So getting rid of her would be a waste right now. So Antoine's not necessarily on our side, on the side of Dominique and them, and he's not necessarily a good character. He's very manipulative, and he wants to use people. He's just not so brazen as Veronica, which is interesting. We also find out that all the siblings are from different moms. None of them, they all have the same dad, but different moms. Well, except for the twins, Louis and Dominique. But yeah, Veronica and Antoine and her all have different mothers, which is interesting. So then we cut to Machina and Ruthven, and they talk about the meeting, and Machina makes a point of saying that a lot of things are like a magic trick that you have to divert your audience's attention from your overall scheme, and that it's important to, like, you know, use sleight of hand, be a trickster, etc., etc. And Machina's like, I'm the one who got, you know, Vanitas to come into this. He's like, if it had been a moment later, Vanitas might have gotten himself tethered to the affair that was happening in the town next over and not head to Javadon. So he kind of blames Ruthven. It's interesting to see kind of the cracks and sort of the betrayal within, because Machina and Ruthven, who've been kind of working together, it seems, they don't trust each other at all. Machina's like, you know, I wanted Vanitas to be a part of this to help me get the alteration engine, but you seem to want to try to keep Vanitas from joining in the fun. So isn't that funny? It's fascinating to see these two kind of like talk it out, but neither of them look like they're going to concede anything. So they say there's a sleeping lion here. I don't want to miss seeing it wake up, so I can't leave. Now, whatever that means, I don't know. Machina is a very interesting character. I don't know what to make of him. There's a part of me that thinks Machina is, I just don't know, because you think he's working for the antagonist, but then he kind of threatens Ruthven. So it's like, well, where, and then Machina tried to help Chloe. So it's like, where does his loyalties lie? What is he? He's flirting around with Veronica. Which leads me, which, you know, last volume said, I talked about how I thought that Machina could have been the shapeless one. God, I hope not. I hope the shapeless one wasn't canoodling with his granddaughter. Let's hope that it's not that much like Game of Thrones, shall we? But then after Ruthven, you know, Ruthven, we find out Ruthven and Machina, they're allies seemingly, but they don't trust one another, and they're keeping things from one another. And Ruthven goes and meets up with Gano. So, surprise, the villainous looking Chaucer is working with the enemy. Who could have guessed? But the thing that sucks is that he gave Ruthven the alteration engine. So now Ruthven has it, which when the Chaucers had it, I was like, eh. When, Dante and Johann had it, I was like, eh. When Ruthven has it, I'm like, oh, I don't like that. So I don't like where this is headed, right? And we don't get any other information about what he's going to do with that alteration engine. So plot point for the next season. Am I right? Clearly. But then, yeah, we have the three siblings. They all have different mothers. And then from there, we have the incurable disease episode, which was one of my favorite episodes in the whole season. It's Vanitas realizing that he's in love and that someone else loves him. And I just love him rolling up to Roland. And I just love this panel where Roland's like, it's love. And Vanitas is like, oh, the real thing. No. But again, I love that Noé sees and Roland sees that Vanitas really has a lot of self-hatred. And that he doesn't understand why anybody would love him. And I feel like at that point, Noé was like, I'm done. We're in. I'm going to be rescuing Vanitas. Going to help save him. Yes, sirree. And I just love Roland being like, I have enough love for both of you. And he's like, no. But what I love about Roland's character is that he has this beautiful, hilarious moment with Vanitas. And then he sends Vanitas and Noé on their way to go patch things up. And then he, immediately has a serious conversation with Olivier. His voice completely, tone changes completely. Where he's just like, look, Vanitas seems terribly shaken. He's like, it looks like he's shattered pieces any moment, and I can't leave him alone like that. And he's just kind of grumpy about, what should we do, Olivier? And he's like, now then, the best panel is that he gets onto Olivier for smoking, and he's like, this is so unhealthy for you. You shouldn't be smoking. How dare you? And then he leans over, puts a cigarette, and he's like, now let's get back to our previous discussion. And I'm like, oh, this is the best panel of Roland. He is so sexy in this panel. I'm like, yes, please. Yes, more of this. Please. Roland is a sexy character. I'm like, he has grown on me as the season has gone on. I'm like, mm-hmm. So apparently he's talking about Gano and the vampire eradication faction. So they are at least somewhat aware at this point that Gano is working with Ruthven, or at least that's what Roland seems to be thinking, right? So with the vampire eradication faction, I am curious. Now the vampire eradication faction seems to be Gano's men, part of the Chaucers. So I am curious if they're onto the fact that maybe he's betrayed them or what's going on. I get the impression that they don't quite trust Gano, which is good. They should not. And then we get this little side thing with Roland and Olivier, where Roland, it says, because he's kind to everyone and doesn't get terribly attached to anyone, women always ask him, do you really love me? He's gonna flaky around women. And Olivier assumes his father will arbitrarily pick out a marriage partner for him, so he's resigned himself to it, and every so often he fools around with beauties who seem unlikely to cause future trouble for him. So they're perfect for each other. Because Roland doesn't even want to get attached, and neither does Olivier. Have all the flings, boys. Go for it. Go for it. Now, the chapter 45, which is extension of the incurable disease, this is maybe one of my favorite pages in the entire manga. It's Luca being like, tell me everything that happened to Gévaudan. And then he finds out about the mountain and the lodge with Vanitas and Jean. The transition on the same page, the mangaka is genius. The transition of Luca from the top to the bottom as he slowly loses his sanity. Chef's kiss. Oh my God. I laughed out loud when I read it. I was like, this is hilarious. I love it so much. And then this page where he starts out as a little tiny stick figure and he's like, well, you like him an awful lot, right? And she starts describing all the symptoms of being in love, and he's like, no! And then she slowly realizes that she's in love and makes all the cute faces and everything. And which, here's the thing. For Vanitas, it's a big deal. What's so funny about Jean and Vanitas realizing they like each other, what's so funny is that, one, we see through countless examples that Vanitas has been capable of love this entire time. He just is in stark denial, right? And we also know that Jean is easily enamored by anything that gives her the time of day. So it's like, is this really the OTP that we're thinking it is? Or is it just like puppy love, you know? To me, it seems kind of the latter. One thing that is so sad, though, is this page where Dominique is thinking that when I first met Jean, she seemed like somebody that I would need to protect, but I don't have to. And then she's like, well, no wonder, you know, she's always on Noé's mind because she's such a great person. So it's like a double whammy. Not only does Dominique feel like she's not needed anymore, but now she feels like she can't measure up to Jean, who she thinks, wrongly, that Noé likes. And it's so sad. And that's when she remembers Mihail. It's really sad. Mm-hmm. And so then I love that we get Noé visiting Vanitas at the end of the episode in the anime, in the end of this chapter, where he talks to him and he hears, and then as he's saying, he's like, I'm glad the man I met called himself a vampire specialist and not a chausseur. He's like, I'm glad you were you, Vanitas, and not like Astolfo. And then when he has Vanitas' attention with that, he remembers Vanitas saying, it's revolting, the thought of someone falling for a person like me. And that's when Noé says, of course, I still don't like you or anything. And I'm like, what BS? Noé just says that so that he can like reel. Noé in his own way is reeling Vanitas in. He did that on purpose. He said that on purpose because then he says, and I love the way this chapter ends, I'm glad you are the person you are now. It's arbitrary, but I wanted to make sure I told you. Like, he's in his own way. Noé is like, you don't want anybody to say that they like you, so I'm just going to say I'm glad you are the way you are. But we all know what it means, right? Right! So, we carry on with Volume 8. I will say there's a couple panels that are really interesting. The panel, we have Dominique finding out that her and Louis are twins, and that it's bad luck, and they were going to kill Louis, like, right off the bat. And then there's this creepy panel where the Shapeless One's like, well, that would be wasteful. I'll take him. And carried him away. That was that. It's just such a, like, nope, be waste, bye. It's just such a simple panel, but it's kind of creepy. And then we set everything up for the final battle between Mihail, Vanitas, and Noé. And I do like the way they draw Noé here. Like, Vanitas finding out it's Mihail and Noé just being pissed that somebody's hurt Dami. Because Dami's like his sister, right? I don't really ship Dami and Noé romantically. I ship them as platonic siblings. Like, basically, it's like the sister he doesn't have, right? And then he notices Mihail, who introduces himself in the same way as Vanitas, even though he says later that he's just imitating him, right? And so I thought it was really cool that the volume ends with Mihail asking Noé to drink his blood. But there's something about the way that he says it. It's very, very creepy. And it almost seems like Mihail has this power of persuasion to him that is kind of like why Noé does it. The manga does make it much more explicit that the only reason that Noé drinks Mihail's blood is because he's threatened Dami's life. That's it. The anime almost makes you wonder if there's like some kind of secret power or spell, but the manga makes it pretty clear that it was just him threatening Dami's life, and Noé's like, well, fine, I guess. So at the end of Volume 8, there is this double spread, and I've not read it because I wanted to read it with you all, of the Hotel Meow Meow. Myrrh and Flute, the cats, you know, the big white cat Myrrh, and then Flute, the black cat friend that he's made, they're humans in this. And all the other characters are cats and dogs. How weird. But it says Flute is a shy girl and Myrrh is a boy who always looks cross. They both work at a small hotel, Meow Meow, where lots of cats and dogs will give you a fun, noisy, energetic greeting. So I like that Murmur has like the big fluffy hair. It's interesting. So maybe it's not the shapeless one, although he does seem rather similar. And then we have all the different cats. Vanitas, male, a bewitching kitty with an eye-catching glossy black coat and beautiful blue eyes. Quite temperamental. He hates being petted or held, but sometimes he'll arbitrarily decide to tease you. When Noé gets lost, he always finds him. He likes being on the hotel's roof. Noé! It says, what are you doing? What is that? Where are you going? He's a Siamese cat. He's a bundle of curiosity and loves anything that's fun. He may think he's a dog. When he's happy, he lashes his tail so hard it might seem like it could come off. He's a mischievous kitty, so he often gets lost in the hotel. He's like a little Siamese. It's cute. Then Jean. It's Vanitas. I love him. I want to eat. Fantastically athletic. She loves eating and she often begs for snacks from the kitchen. She's very cautious, but once she's warmed up to somebody, she's incredibly affectionate towards them. Lately, she hasn't been able to get Vanitas out of her mind. I like that you have Noe is like not interested in anybody. Asexual agenda. And then Vanitas is interested in Noe. Jean's interested in Vanitas. What can we do? And it says Luca. It says, be careful on your way home. He's the youngest, but he's the most practical, well-mannered of the group. He never fails to greet guests and see them off. Sometimes he's so considerate that he wears himself out, though. He loves Jean so very much that it's rumored he may secretly be trying to run Vanitas out of the hotel. Then you have Dominique, a sisterly kitty whose gorgeous fluffy tail is her pride and joy. She secretly is jealous that Vanitas is better at finding Noe when he gets lost. Imagine. She's very good at looking for others, and she's always skillfully covering for them. However, she encounters an event that she can't cope with. Her mind flies to the end of the universe. Yeah, so it's like she instantly gets so anxious over the littlest thing that she's like, nope, done. And just like zones out. Then we have Dante. He loves money. If you put a tip in the coin purse that hangs from his neck, he'll show you around the hotel and take a variety of requests. He has a strikingly chubby build and his jumps tend to not work out. Aw. Then you have Ruthven. Ruthven has a cat. Large. Extremely large. A kitty who is rarely seen in public. He always is in his own room, immersed in his hobbies. He seems calm. When he takes an interest in something, he goes after it aggressively. A feline teacher who sometimes holds classes for Noe and Jean. And then we have Astolfo is like a little Pomeranian, which is amazing. I love it. It's great. It says he barks a lot. And then Olivier is like not a golden retriever, but like, I don't know. He's like a retriever, but then you have Roland, who's literally a lab. Makes sense. It says, since he shares a room with Roland, he would like his own room. The other dogs are always noisy and it makes his stomach hurt. However, when he gets mad, he's the noisiest one of all. And then Roland, always full of energy, always lost. But he's loud so everyone knows where he is. He loves Olivier. He loves Vanitas too. He loves everybody. Today's another fun, happy day. Woof, woof. I love that Roland just loves everyone, so he's instantly shippable with everyone. But I thought the Meow Meow Hotel was really cute. I liked that little extra. That was super, super adorable. So, the covers for volumes 9 and 10, I'd say the covers for this whole series are Chef's Kiss, but I really love volume 9, where you have Mihail, and he's looking over what looks like not only a picture frame, but it is the Book of Vanitas, and it's pinned by like the little pins that have red dots on the end, like blood, but then there's butterflies on the book, so it's like pinning a butterfly to the book, but then there's a chains over the book, like they're chaining him in, and there's Vanitas, and it's the red butterfly is almost like the symbol of the red moon vampire and them trying to get to the memories of the blue moon vampire, but they're encased in the book and you can't get to them. The symbolism, y'all. It's amazing. But yeah, I really like that. Honestly, when I turned the page, I saw this and I thought, well, that's a really bland alternate cover. What is this? It leads you to a double spread, though, that is one of my favorites in the whole series. You have Vanitas and Noe, and you have all of these images of like the hand, Vanitas' hand grabbing Noe's, the Beast of Gévaudan, the alteration engine, the two of them on the rooftop, the Tartatan, them all confronting each other. There's a picture at the top that in front of Vanitas is the Blue Moon Vampire. And then you have the picture of Noe with Dominique and Louis with their backs turned to him. And then at the top you have like, it looks like the Chaucer, and it looks like it could have been Vanitas as the Chaucer, and it's scribbled out. That one's a little harder to read, but Noe is trying to reach for Vanitas' hand. And Vanitas' hand is inside the coat sleeve, so you can't tell if he's reaching back or not. The symbolism, y'all. The symbolism. So, when we find out in the anime that Luca knows that Dominique has been missing, it just happens in the anime. It's like that's when Jean finds out from Luca and she decides, she gets word from Luca to go after her. Here, the only thing that's added that I think is absolutely adorable is that Jean is reading like Sleeping Beauty. It shows her like in the library study when Luca shows up and she's reading Sleeping Beauty. And at first, it shows Jean as Sleeping Beauty, where she's the princess, she pricks her finger and she, falls asleep to get the kiss. Then the story transforms in her mind and she's the prince slaying, there's a bear there, which could be Machina, slaying the monster that's in front of the castle so she can go save Vanitas, and it shows her pushing back Vanitas's hair to give him a kiss and run off with him. And then I love that Jean has the little image that goes, happy end. Jean wants to be the one to save him. I'm like, girl, get it. Yes, please. So they find out that Dominique's missing and we go back to Mihail and Noe. And honestly, this page where Mihail looks so threatening, he's got like the blue mark extending up his side, and Noe's like, you want me to what? I don't want to drink your blood, little kid. But we find out that Noe is threatened with Dami being hurt unless he drinks Mihail's blood, and he says that he wants to protect Dominique because she's so close to him and he loves her like a sibling, and he has to protect her most of all because she's the most fragile. Like, she's just as fragile as Louis, and he doesn't want to lose her like he lost Louis. So he's like, even if it costs my life, I'm going to do it. And that image of Mihail just tempting him to bite him, it's really well drawn, but oof, it is an image, y'all. So when we go back to the backstory of Mihail, right? And when he was taken by Moreau, I remember back in the anime me being like, did no one else look for him? Did nobody else go find him? Turns out, no, they did. Yeah, Roland went to go find him. Roland's like, I need to go find Mihail. And he's like, he tells Ronaldo, one of the chausseurs, he's like, but I need to go find him. And they were like, well, he probably ran away. And you said it yourself that he's not suited to be a chausseur. Like, Roland didn't want to make him a chausseur like he wanted to Vanitas. And so then Roland, the one chausseur, tells him, he's like, you got that wound because you were protecting Olivier. If you didn't wake up, Olivier was going to leave the church. So before you protect anyone, you should take proper care of the responsibility for the fact that you'll get hurt again, right? Forget about the child. So we see this image of Olivier in front of Roland's bed. Like, Roland got hurt in the flashback protecting Olivier, and Olivier, if Roland died, Olivier was going to leave the church. I'm sorry. What is this OTP behavior that we're having going on? I was like, what? So yeah, Roland did try to find Mihail. It just didn't work out. But that bit of backstory was just incredible. And then we have the whole incident with Moreau. Everything with Moreau, unfortunately, is pretty much exactly the same in the manga as it is in the anime. But I love this page of when the Blue Moon vampire shows up to get both of them. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Blue Moon, Luna has won RuPaul's Drag Race already. Just look at that. Just absolutely stunning. The vampire of the Blue Moon. And of course, Vanitas gets mad because he realizes that their blood is running through his veins, right? And so we have the montage of everything going on. Noe sees all the visions of the montage. I like the montage and everything is exactly like it was in the anime, which is really cool. The only thing that's interesting is that Noe comments about how Luna looks a lot like Nania looked as Queen Faustina in Gévaudan. So, and her skin is black, kind of like Nania's. So there are similarities and connections there. We just don't know what exactly. But I like that Noe points that out. It's good to know. And then the idea that to save them, like, they're slowly dying because their bodies are being rewritten and they were experimented upon so much that the Blue Moon vampire's like, look, I can make you my kin, but it's not a method I want to use. And then just, I love that the back-to-back, they're two totally different responses. Mihail's like, I want to live. Make me your kin. We'll be together forever. And Vanitas is like, no, I will never do it, no matter what. Even if I know I die tomorrow, I want to remain human. So it's like, I love the duality and the contrast of those reactions. And then Vanitas shows up, and Mihail mentions bringing Luna back, and Vanitas is like, no, absolutely not. And honestly, it's because, we'll talk about at the end of Volume 10, that Vanitas says, I've been working to erase her existence entirely. I've sacrificed so much, and I've become so much less of myself to avenge her. And you're going to bring her back as this monstrosity that's not going to be herself. Like, you can tell he's really mad about that. He's like, no, she won't be herself. And you're dishonoring her memory. I do like the way that Mihail says, well, that's novel, you using a gun. It was just, that panel was drawn really, really well. And then, of course, Vanitas threatens. He gets mad. A tells Noe to just forget about Dominique. The way they draw the panel of Noe lunging for Vanitas, though, terrifying. Terrifying, y'all. I was like, oh, it had a very Ruthven vibe to it, right? Which parallels. So, to clear up, it's what I find interesting is that Vanitas calls the blue moon with a female pronoun. Oh, he always says her. Says, why do you call the blue moon father? And Mihail in this panel, they do a flashback. Mihail says, well, I always wanted a father, and that's not what I meant. And Vanitas is like, she's a woman, right? And they both are kind of like, it's a man. No, it's a woman. And then that's when Luna says, I'm neither. I'm not male or female. I'm not like any other living creature in this world. And Vanitas is like, well, then what are you? We're not going to answer that question. So I find that interesting that not the fact that, I mean, you know, non-binary is not binary, but the fact that biologically the blue moon vampire is something completely unique. So that part is interesting with the incident of Babel, everything we don't know about, like how exactly is a blue moon vampire super unique? What makes them be this way? Why is it their blood affects, why do they affect other vampires in a negative aspect? We don't know yet, right? What are you? And that's when Luna says, I always wondered that about myself. I tried to find out, but at this point, I deeply regret it. And that could be like, you know, that carries back to the idea of the curse bearer. I want to find out what I am and who I am. I obviously we know the curse bearers come from the Book of Vanitas, but it's like, well, then what do we do? And then why? And there's so many mysteries surrounding Luna that I want to know more about, right? And so Luna's like, well, I like this name. I'm going to use it. And at this point, we find out that Mihail loved Luna. And Luna said, every time someone looks up the moon, every time they call its name, I'll feel as though I'm there too. And Mihail says, I love you, brother. I do. I love you deeply, but I'll never forgive you. Like, I loved Luna like I loved you, and you made Luna go away, so I can't forgive you for that. And Vanitas is like, I killed the blue moon. And then he hears Mihail say, I won't forgive you. And what's interesting is all the things about Mihail hurting and not forgiving Vanitas, Noe is feeling these emotions and saying these are Mihail's memories, but I can't stop attacking Vanitas even though I know these aren't mine. And that's where Volume 9 ends. But we do get these little side cases at the very end of Volume 9. We get the idea that Noe working in the restaurant from the OP, it's a side story in this, that Noe actually has a job working in the cafe. Who knew? Fun times. We also find out that Roland naturally is friends with everyone and easily gets lost. There's a really cute side story with Astolfo and Olivier, and Roland just gets lost and then comes back after meeting 20,000 friends. So that's really cute. And then we get this, Marquis Machina's Hot Picks. It says, behold, I present to you a completely arbitrary and biased list of things I'm currently crazy about. Today's topic, my favorite content creators. So it's like all of them as content creators, which is insane. So we have V, who has 1.9 million subscribers, which is Vanitas, right? And it has like this crudely drawn cat. And it says, a game commentator whose popularity is skyrocketing. He never shows his face, but his voice is truly exquisite. He specializes in first-person shooters, but he'll play pretty much anything. The one type he's bad at is dating sims. And it says, during a romance is a love mission. No matter how many times he played through it, he always ended up on the hidden character route for Sasaki, a fact that is now legend. He even plays highly difficult games without breaking a sweat, but he works himself into extreme panic when he runs into unforeseen situations, to the point that lots of his viewers look forward to it. I am repeating myself, but his voice is exquisite. And then people are saying, like, there it is. I was waiting for this moment. It's freak out time. You're freaking out so hard. His voice sounds great, though. It's cool he can keep playing when he's screaming like that. Oh, come on, you got this. Shut up, bruh. Says, I like the way he suddenly starts cussing up a storm. Will he manage to get a clean getaway? Somebody make a compilation of all his past freakouts. Oh, my God. So, yeah. I like the Vanitas cannot handle dating sims, which seems accurate. Then you have Noe, who has 1.8 million subscribers. And it says, a walking tour culture tuber who truly shines once he's lost. He's very distractible and loses weight easily, but he isn't aware of this. Strangely, you start to feel warm and fuzzy when you watch his content, as if you're watching over a small child. To date, he's only ever reached his destination a single miraculous time, but wherever he goes, he finds something entertaining, visits with the locals, and he forgets what he initially set out to do, so it's not a problem. His roommate coming to retrieve him has become a staple of his videos. And it says the Guardian arrives, and it's Vanitas, like... But yeah, Noe has Myrrh as his profile. And then it shows, like, Noe looking at a cat on the road, and it's just a bag. It's absolutely hilarious. And then they're like, do Noe and V live together? And it's like, which is great. So then you have Princess in Nights, which is 1.2 million subscribers. It says a channel where a princess who loves eating food gets thoroughly spoiled by 2 nights. She eats everything, whether it's convenience store sweets or multi-course meals at 3-star restaurants. Whenever they film a video on location, they always reserve the whole place, so they seem to be pretty wealthy. The princess acts so manly that many viewers think the princess is a boy. And I kind of like that in the weirdest ways. It's almost like a BL if Jean's kind of like a guy. I don't know. I like that. I like that Jean has just like that radiating, like that strong energy. I don't know if I like the fact that people confuse it for her being masculine, because I'm like, why can't she just be strong as a woman? What do I know? But I do like that it's Dominique, Jean, and Luca. And Luca and Dominique are the 2 knights that spoil her. The 2 ones that love her, right? But with 2 million subscribers, Olivier, c'est la vie. The most subscribers. It says, this is what it means to be handsome. A channel whose owner, acknowledged both by himself and others as gorgeous, showcases indulgences that are brimming with luxury. His audience is said to be 90% women. Only 90, huh? And says a childhood friend of his barges in every once in a while, and his attitude towards his said friend is so ruthless that fans have dubbed that side of him Dark Lord Cest. There is an unofficial Lord Cest fan club. It says the wine on Lord Cest on screen are enough to make the world very, very beautiful. So is Olivier just enjoying fine indulgences, and then Roland comes, and then people fangirl over them? Amazing. I would watch C'est La Vie. And then you have just Roland with 1.1 million subscribers. It says a childhood friend who sometimes appears on C'est La Vie's live streams. He creates strength training videos for a wide range of ability levels, from beginner to advanced. His voice is insanely loud, so it's better to turn the volume down before you hit play. Every once in a while, his younger work colleague barges in and challenges him, but always beats him back with strength training. Love it. I love it, just how buff Roland is. It's great. And then we have Donkin, or Dante, with 1 million subscribers. It says they really do anything. New uploads every day, which is very impressive. No, they don't get tired of explaining things. Apparently, these guys are friends with the game commenter V and walking tour culture YouTuber Noe, and they edit their videos for the 2. I love that you have Richie, you have Johan, and you have Dante, and they're the editors, and it's amazing. I love that Johan gives a video being like, this is how you not do makeup, and it's Dante in drag from the last volume. So... fun times. I thought that was super, super cute. But yeah, today I got volume 10, which I'm very happy that I did. The cover that's the hourglass. It's all of them in blue. It's them back to back, like the end of the episode. Oh, it's... The good news is that whereas volume 8 had a lot of extra content that was left out, and so did volume 9 had some left out, this volume's pretty straightforward, which I was glad. What I was afraid of was that the anime was going to leave a ton of stuff out. It really doesn't. And I love that we have that cover of those 2. And then Noe and Vanitas with this cover going, meh. Now, the thing of it is, you have Noe with the purple eye and Vanitas with the blue eye. I'm like, and then we know the shapeless one has a purple eye and a blue eye. Is the shapeless one like, related to Archivistes but doesn't have the power himself? Is he related to the blue moon but doesn't have the power himself? So much mystery with the shapeless one, but I really love this image of the two of them. And then, yeah, we have that parallel. I love they show us the first time Noe and Vanitas met, and then we see Vanitas and Noe, at each other's throats, and that's when Noe is like, this is really dumb. I do love the face Mihail gets because Jean shows up and Jean's like, what the hell is this? And I love Mihail's just like unamused face where he's like, really? Like, a lot of the panels and a lot of the images from episodes 23 and 24 are exactly the same in the manga. So I didn't feel the need to show all of them, but I do love Vanitas being like, I'm here on Luca's orders. I'm getting Dominique. You watch Vanitas. And that's when Noe's like, of course I can watch Vanitas. And he's like, and so then we cut back to when Noe sees his image, his reflection in the glass. He's like, how did Vanitas look when I attacked him? And that's when we see this image of Vanitas who looked terrified that Noe was going to attack him. And Noe realizes, like, shit. Vanitas' family was killed by vampires, and here I am attacking him like this. No wonder he looked like that. So, yeah. So, I love the idea that Noe is like, let's stop this, Vanitas. I want to shake hands and make up. I'm like, you don't want to kiss and make up? Okay, we can do shake hands. And that's where he talks about how Vanitas is bad-tempered. He does whatever he wants arbitrarily. And he goes to the list of everything wrong with him, but he's never going to set him free. Oh. Right? So damn good. Yep. I love it. I'm never going to set you free. I'm never going to leave you alone, basically. And that's why Vanitas can't kill him. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. The panels, I love them so much. I love them. And then just the two of them, like, just crouching in the rain next to one another. It's great. And then, of course, Mihail's like, well, why couldn't you do this? What's going on? And he reveals that he was going to have Dominique. He was going to basically try to have Noe drink his blood. And Noe's like, wait, you were using me? It's like, yes, of course. And again, we get confirmation. Y'all were right. You were all correct. The figure with the short hair is not Louis, but it's Dominique. And that line now makes more sense, saying our true name isn't the least bit defiled. Meaning that the thing about it is, we find out Mihail cannot alter people with the book like Vanitas can. He can only control them for a limited time. And Dominique realized that she's fine. She's only being slightly controlled by Mihail. He's like, I practiced a lot before I got here. I can't rewrite someone's true name, but I can temporarily make them do what I tell them. And that's why he says the whole thing with killing them, right? So, and that's when the book acts up, and it's very Full Metal Alchemist. It's very creepy. It also makes his skin start to turn black, which again reminds me of a curse bearer, kind of like Nania. So if you use the book improperly, what ends up happening to you? So there's that option there that is kind of a wee bit creepy, right? Just a wee bit. But yeah, then we have Dominique breaking free and saving them. I really loved this page where Luca talks about Dominique to Jean and says, like, she has this fine strength inside of her. He's like, I saw her perform the formula dance once as entertainment. Like, he saw her dancing. He's like, when Dominique creates ice by rewriting the formula, it's not violent like Veronica and Antoine make it. It's delicate but powerful, just like her herself. I love that. I love Luca kind of acknowledges, like, yeah, she's beautiful and powerful, and she has her own strength. It's really pretty. I mean, I love that Jean acknowledged it in the anime, but seeing Luca kind of talk about it was really refreshing. I liked that. So yeah, everything leads up to the shapeless one showing up. And we get this double spread of the shapeless one with the blue eye and the purple eye, and like the literally split in half. The fudge. I don't know what to make of this, y'all. Nope. And they're like, well, did you tell Mihail that they could bring back Luna? And he's like, guilty as charged. And he says, you said this was the first time I'd seen you in that form. Where was it? Where did you meet me, Shapeless One? But the Shapeless One won't answer his question. So we don't know the first time that Vanitas met him. The fudge. And then it immediately cuts to this page that is terrifying. This nightmare fuel. Where he's like, the Comte de Saint Germain. That's the name I go by. Make sure you get it right. What the fudge? I like Dominique's like, Grandpapa, why? Why are you like this? What is going on? It is creepy. That page is terrifying. I don't know what to make about the Shapeless One, but what do we do, y'all? And then he says the kingdom of dreams has fallen, whether they're as gentle as a cradle or nightmares that eat away at you. In the end, dreams are only dreams. Inevitably, there'll come a time where you have to wake and face reality. And he says, heir to the blue, the most beautiful creature in this world. Yeah, so he clearly has like an obsession with Luna, but to what purpose? Why? What's going on? Very curious indeed. Yep. And so then we have the whole rooftop scene where Vanitas and Noe meet like they do in the anime. But I do like the way that Vanitas explains it in the manga. He's like, look, I treat curse bearers to find traces of the one who stole her name. I'll never forgive Luna. I'll erase every last fragments of the blue vampire's existence. And I'll consign them to oblivion. That is my revenge. So, yeah, all of the curse bearers. So, basically, whoever stole her true name. So, the question is, like, when was the true name stole? Who stole it? Why did she curse all the people? Did she create all the curses trying to find where her true name was? But I like that it's kind of double-edged, where Vanitas is, like, saying, I can't forgive her for biting me and changing me and for saving me, but at the same time, I love her because she saved me, and I owe it to her to try to find out who did this to her, and that's going to be my revenge. Getting rid of all traces of her existence will be my revenge. And what's really sad is that Mihail has this moment where he's like, you said you'd want to stay human to the end, but I can kill you if you turn into a monster because we're the same. We'll slowly become monsters together. And what's so interesting is it's kind of like a moment where Vanitas told Jean that if she ever was different than herself, that he would kill her. But then Vanitas is like, I'm never going to set you free. I'm never going to give up on you. I'm going to stay with you. And so Vanitas is like, I don't want to be abandoned or be stuck with another monster and be all alone. So I would rather be killed by somebody who promises they're never going to leave me. Because he's like, no matter what happens, Noe is going to stay by my side and make sure that I end up dying. And the angst of it all is that we know that Noe kills him in the end, supposedly. So that's the angsty part, is that I'm going to get invested in these two as a couple. I'm going to get invested. I'm going to get all worked up. And then you know what's going to happen? And then you know what's going to happen? He's going to die, and I'm going to feel really sad. So I just get that vibe. But God, they make the panels look so good. And then poor Mihail. And Mihail cries about it, and like his face looks so sad there, and then he's instantly over it, and he's like, oh, fine, and then I'm just going to revive Luna on my own. Whatevs. And then we get this beautiful shot of Noe and Vanitas helping each other up, just like in the anime. It's gorgeous. I love it. And we see them together, reaching for each other. Mm-hmm. So at the very end of the volume, Jean-Jacques shows up with Chloe. And you're like, wait, why are they here? But then you remember that the Chauceurs and the vampires are after the two of them. So that's why. And that's where the volume ends. So there's going to be that going on, which is exciting. So excited to see all that go down. There is at the very end, there's this thing, it's called The Grand Opening, produced by the legendary host Johan of Club Je t'aime, which is bursts on the scene. So it's like club love. I love that Jean-Jacques is there with the dozen roses. There's Vanitas, there's Roland, there's Ruthven in the middle. Noe is holding Myrrh, and then there's Olivier. It says the finest host club in history, available exclusively to chosen guests. And here's the cast. You have, did you know cats are very stretchy? What? It says Noe, an angel who's slighted at Je t'aime. Who's alighted at Je t'aime. Let his angelic embrace soothe your weary heart from the day's troubles. Blood drinking option available only to members who are ranked A or higher. Oh my. And then Ruthven, let me tell you everything you don't know. Oh my god. Ruthven, formerly a teacher, now the Emperor of the Night. What? Blood drinking option available only to members ranked SS or higher. Oh my god. Oh no. Vanitas, I'm glad you're here. Come, give me your hand. Ooh. Says, a man who's seen it all and wears a cunning mask. Here at Je t'aime, he's the only standard member. And then Jean-Jacques has the rose. What do you need from me? What do you need me for? Jean-Jacques, a shut-in vampire who's bad at conversation. In other words, naive and pure. The Dark Horse. Blood drinking option available only for members ranked B or higher. Oh my. And then Olivier says, beg for my love. Oh my god. Olivier, absolute nobility that dominates Je t'aime. His motto is, I'll get the job done perfectly. Oh my. And then Roland, I'm right here. What are you looking at, princess? Ah! Says his baby face hides that of a virile male. His indestructible blade is sure to leave you weak in the knees. His indestructible blade is sure to leave you weak in the knees? Excuse me? What? Oh my. Humans and vampires whose ages range from 18 to over 200. Who will you spend your magnificent evening with, princess? Oh my god. Okay, so if we're being honest about this, Noe, I don't know if I want my blood drank, so I don't know. Noe and Jean-Jacques. Noe seems like the best option, but honestly, I'd say Roland or Noe, probably. Vanitas, I don't know if I want to be... like, I feel like it'd be like Dick's Last Resort where Vanitas would just make fun of you the whole time. Definitely not Ruthven. No. Not Olivier. He's too serious. No. Jean-Jacques might be too shy for me. I don't know. Maybe Jean-Jacques. But he could be like the sensitive type that's like secretly like, but I'd be afraid he'd try to bite me. Noe would be all about consent. So I'm all for that. So Noe for sure. Or Roland. I think either one. But yeah. So that's the volume set, y'all. I can't believe I'm caught up. I'm really glad that I ended up reading the manga because I'm going to be honest, I debated it for a while. When people kept telling me that it was pretty much exactly like the anime, I was like, I'm not going to react to it. That'd be a lot of work. And it would take a long time before we got to a new show. But I was really debating on reading the manga. I didn't know if I would like it or not. And I ended up really enjoying it. So I'm glad that I did, and I will probably be sharing over the Discord for the next several months. Pictures that I've taken, screenshots I've taken for this video to share with the Discord. I'm sure that that'll be the case. But I am really excited to eventually come back. I've already put it in my little, I've got a Google Doc with all my list of anime and stuff, and I've got it down for season 2. Because I think they will eventually make one. It'll just be a long time from now. So, but as you all know from this channel, I can be very, very patient. So, with that being said, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of these last volumes, and if you guys are excited about the manga continuing. Hopefully we'll get an anime at some point, but I'm just excited the manga is out of hiatus and back going again, so yay raw. But next week is going to be a new show. As I'm recording this, it's being voted on Patreon, but by the time this airs, it will have already been selected by Patreon. So I'm excited. Wednesday will be a new show next week, which will be cool. So new show November. It'll be a fun time. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with more of the case study. Or no! But yeah, I'll be back next week, not with the case study of Vanitas because it's over. We gotta wait on hiatus now, but with a brand new show and reaction. Bye!